Hello, welcome back to another session of the Women in Publishing Summit. I'm Alexa Bigwar, your host, and I am really excited to bring you guys our bronze, one of our bronze sponsors, BookFunnel. We were so excited when BookFunnel came onto the mix because it made us feel totally legit, I have to say, because it's a tool that we have been using, I would say, for probably 4 years for our authors, and just a tool that we enjoy using. We use it every single day. It has helped us so much with getting our advanced review copies out and growing our email list, and we'll talk about all of those things. But let me tell you who I'm here with today. You may notice that Damon Courtney is a dude. He is our one and only man in the summit, but we allowed for it since it's BookFunnel. But
I just learned that I'm the only guy. So,
well, there you have it. Welcome. We are happy to have you. Damon Courtney is the creator and CEO of BookFunnel, an ebook and audiobook delivery service for authors and publishers. As a lifelong software engineer, Damon is an expert in just about everything technical and can offer unique insight on publishing as it relates to software and technology. He has also self-published a single fantasy trilogy. Like that's just, it sounds so small there, but fantasy tends to not be just simple trilogy.
they tend to be door stoppers that you can beat people over the head.
Oh, no.
So that's our thing. We love that stuff.
But you're continuing to write stories and you hope to publish soon. So that's fantastic. We are going to talk, and I think it's cool when we talk to people who are tech owners who also know the world of writing books. I mean, I think that you have to know that to do a product like this. But we are going to talk all about BookFunnel. Again, it's something that I absolutely love. And I would like just to ask you, like, how you came up with the idea. How was it born? How did you put it together?
So that's the beauty of being an indie author first is, I mean, I've been a software developer my whole life. So just setting that out, I love what I do. I love building cool things. And back in 2011, I got into reading self-published books and kind of realized a little secret dream of mine that I always kind of wanted to be a writer. I thought that would be really cool. And I read fantasy and science fiction, those sort of genres. And so I had written this fantasy trilogy, and I was near to publishing the third and final book of the trilogy, and was trying to like connect with readers more directly. I'd had some people reading the book, which was really great. I got a few reviews. I got even a few emails from people saying that they really liked it. And I realized that, there wasn't, as an indie author, the sort of, one of the advantages that I had of not going through a publisher was that I could create a direct relationship with my reader. Like the reader and I could talk to each other. And really all I had at that time was sort of an author's note at the back of the book. That was really kind of the only way that I could communicate with the readers. And I found these self-published authors at the time that were really sort of building their own mailing list and saying, hey, come over here and join my little club where I've got, cool things going on. And we're talking about books and we're talking about fantasy. And I thought that was really, really neat. And I wanted to do the same. So the advice at the time was, well, give people a reason to join. Give them a free short story or a novella, or if you have a long series, give them the first book in the series, something that could entice them to join your list. And I thought, oh, I can do that. That sounds really cool. I mean, it's a trilogy. The first book was shorter than the others. And so I thought, well, I'll give away the first book if they'll read, hopefully they like it and they go on and they read the other 2 books in the series. But there really wasn't a way to do that. I had made it free a couple of times on Amazon back when that was a little bit easier to do. But I still there wasn't a way that I could actually get people to sign up and deliver a free thing. And I looked at the way that other people were doing it, the other big authors at the time, like big names. And they were basically just emailing people, EPUB and Mobi and PDF files and saying, here's your free book. And I thought, there's no way that people are going to figure that out. I mean, I'm a techie guy, and it's still kind of difficult for me. So I set about building BookFunnel as a way to do that. It really was built from my desire to reach readers directly, to take everybody out of the process but me and the reader, talk directly to them, give the book directly to them. I have that direct line of communication. So I built everything that I needed for myself first, and then I thought, I think other people could use this too. This could actually be pretty cool. And it was really as simple as that. It was just helping authors deliver ebooks directly to their readers without having to go through the stores and everything else, so that they could truly own that relationship with their readers. And then we added audiobooks and other stuff later too, but that was the core crystallization of it.
Well, the one of the biggest problems that we find with a lot of our authors as they're coming in is this exact problem. Like, they know that they need to get a book out to people, but they don't want to necessarily build a website. They don't even want to have, and some of the other landing page softwares are so expensive. I mean, if you pay for lead pages or something like that just to have your ebook delivered, it doesn't make sense for anybody. But I love this. And would you mind if I shared my screen, or do you want to share your screen so we
No,
can
no, you
show
go ahead.
everyone what I'll show what our account looks like. So, this idea of having to build your own landing page and website, and like you said, get the book delivered to people and all of those things was really overwhelming to a lot of clients. So
Right.
boy, were we so excited when we found this tool, because well, it's not a very good example on that particular book, but let's look at one of the pages. Depends on how much we're doing promos and all those kinds of things when we participate in the promos, which thank you for coming up with that.
Yeah.
We see tons and tons of hits on things, but so this is a landing page. So there you go.
Yeah, that's a sign up page that people would that's the vast majority of the pages that we serve up are an opt-in page where people can sign up for your landing page. You sign up for your book, for your mailing list, and they get your book from there.
So simple. And what I love most about it is that it's so simple to create. I mean, I think it takes us like 5 minutes. If you have your description and all your stuff are ready to go, under 5 minutes to create one of those pages.
If you have it already on your book, so BookFunnel really encourages you to kind of, we don't require it, because we try, as a software engineer, I try really hard not to put a bunch of roadblocks in your way. I want you to get the job done as quickly as possible. So we will ask you, obviously we need a title for your book. That's a requirement. Mm-hmm. You have to pick your author. You have to give us your author name. That's a requirement. Beyond that, you really don't have to give us anything else, but we do sort of encourage you to give us a book tagline, which is, what is it that hooks people into your book? What makes your book special? And then of course the longer book description, which you really are going to you're going to need when you go to upload the book on Amazon and all the rest of the stores anyway. And so it's just trying to encourage you to get these best practices. Think about what your tagline for that book actually is, because it's something that a lot of authors don't think about. But the beauty is that landing page, if you have if you've already set all that stuff up and you've already created the tagline for your book and you have your book description, you can actually create a new landing page for your book in like 10 seconds.
It's so easy.
Just by using the defaults. And BookFunnel is smart enough to say, oh, they have a tagline. So put their tagline really big as the heading right up there, because that is the thing that is going to entice people to really click on that book and say, oh, wow, that looks like a book that I'm interested in. And of course, your book cover, which we don't help you with, but should already be really good. And then, the three biggest things that that readers are looking at is they're going to look at your book cover, they're going to look at your tagline, and then they're going to slide down and maybe they're going to read the book description, or maybe if your tagline's really hooky, they've already decided to get the book. So those are the three big elements. And all of our landing pages are designed around the idea that we are going to lead people from the cover to the tagline to the button, and then there's a book description down there too, if you're still not convinced. And all of that is designed in a way to really get people to click that button and sign up for the newsletter, because that's what you're trying to do. That's what you want.
Well, and we love the fact that, okay, so I just showed that's our freebie for my book. So that's just the landing page. They only get the PDF on there. Basically, we get their email address, they get the PDF. But you can put in EPUBs, Mobies, like you can give everyone the entire selection, which is nice. But you can also, I love the fact that you guys added sales pages. Mm-hmm. So you can also do sales promos and sales pages out there. So if you don't want to be selling your book on Amazon, and if you don't want to set up your book, or wait a minute, how does it link? It links to the other sales sites, right? Sorry.
So it links you to everywhere.
Right,
but
links
again,
you to everywhere.
But again, the beauty of that is that you don't, I would say that ultimately, if you are moving forward in your author career, that having a website, having a domain, and having a place where people can go to find you online that you own, right? So
Yes.
you can build Facebook groups, you can build your Twitter, you can build an Instagram feed, but there should be a place on the web that is your own, that you own. But if you're not ready for that, and I would say that that's a little lower down the list. The first one is write books. And then as you start to get those books out there, though, you want to start building a little bit of that presence. And the nice thing is that our landing pages will let you build that presence and have a place to send people while you're still working on getting that website together and getting that place.
Yes, we love it. So let's talk about the different ways that authors can use it to grow their platform.
Okay. So the first, I mean, the reason that I built BookFunnel was to build out your newsletter. And that's the first thing that we get a lot of, so we work with a lot of new authors. They email us questions all the time. And I will say, if you have any questions at all, you can email support@bookfunnel.com. Our people are extremely educated in self-publishing. We deal with tons of authors at all levels of scale. So we can answer all kinds of questions if you have them. But the one of the questions we get a lot is, how can I use BookFunnel, as a new author, as they're just starting out? And then what should I be doing to grow that presence? So the BookFunnel was built so that you could give out a free reader magnet, what we call a reader magnet, but a lead magnet, a free thing to get people to join onto your newsletter, to your mailing list. And the reason that we do that, and the reason that we encourage authors to really set that up, even if you don't have even before you get your first book published, is that every single reader who reads that book from the first time that you publish it, and you don't know where readers are going to come from. When you first put that book out there, you're going to have, friends and family are going to buy a copy, but then they might go on and recommend it to other people. And as you start driving more traffic and as you start working with other authors in your genre, you're going to get eyeballs. And you want to make sure that everybody who reads that book has an opportunity to move over to your mailing list. That's where you want to try to capture them so that you can start to build that community of your readers and the people that love your books. And most readers would be more than happy to get a free book or a free short story or a free novella, some sort of reader magnet to get onto that list. That's especially nice if you're doing, if you are growing your list organically, which is that you've put a call to action, a link at the end of your book. So a reader gets through, they finish the book and it says, hey, thank you so much for reading. I have a free novella that comes after this book, or a prequel that comes before this book, that you might really enjoy. And I give it to all my fans for free, just for joining my newsletter and joining. And I also have other cool stuff that I talk about on my mailing list. Readers who've read through the book, those organic readers who have already read your book, have a really good chance of signing up for that kind of stuff. And you want to make sure that as you're building out your mailing list, not to be too technical, but you segment them so that basically you can keep track of, these people are people that have actually read my books, right?
Yeah.
If you got onto this list, you only got it because you got the link from the end of my book. And BookFunnel makes that really easy because you can actually create as many landing pages as you want. And we have authors that will actually create a different landing page for every one of their books so that they know exactly where you came from. I know that if you came to this link, you finished this book. Right. And especially if you're writing standalones, or if you're writing in series, well, then when I get you onto my newsletter, I want to know where you came from, because I can use that to direct different emails to you. Yep. When you join my newsletter, I can say, hey, I really hope you're enjoying the Sweet and Sassy romance series. Here's the free book, the prequel that comes before the series. How many books have you read in the series? Which one is your favorite? I'd love to know. And that kind of engagement is really, really important. That's the thing that is going to get people to turn from leads into super fans, right? Yeah. And moving on to that, the next place that you can start to build a readership, and BookFunnel can help with this, is what we call group promotions, where you sign up for BookFunnel, you've uploaded your book, you've got your reader magnet ready to go, and we have a promotions board that has hundreds and hundreds of promos. It all depends on your genre, but I use romance in a lot of my examples because the vast majority of authors on BookFunnel are romance authors. We have a lot of sci-fi. I mean, we run the gamut, all of
Yeah.
them, all across the spectrum. But
We
if you
bring
go,
you some nonfiction, folks.
but if you go and you look at our promotions board, you will quickly find that the romance promos are a lot bigger than
Oh
the
yeah.
mystery.
Oh yeah.
But the nice thing about that is that most of those romance promos will dig down into very small niches that you want to pay attention to. If you write clean Christian romance, then find promos that are specifically targeting clean Christian romance, because if you especially when you're starting out, if you can target those smaller promos, you're going to have a lot better traction. Try to find promos that maybe only have 20 or 30 books. You will see mega promos on BookFunnel that have hundreds of books, but it's a lot harder to get noticed in promos like that. And they generally tend to be just like romance. Well, I've rarely met the romance reader. Just like fantasy, I read a very particular kind of fantasy. And while I'll dabble a little over here or over there, I have a pretty narrow genre that I like to read in. And so most romance readers kind of fall in the same thing. You know, they might read Regency, but occasionally they'll read a contemporary. But you're much better off if you're targeting readers that are very specifically in that genre that you write. So if you write small town romance, look for a promo that is other authors who also write small town romance. And the reason is the way that a group promo works is you join up, and there are, even if you're a new author and you haven't started your newsletter yet, there are lots of promos that are very, very welcoming to new authors. And they even say, hey, new authors welcome, come on in, right? Because a lot of the authors on BookFunnel are just great people. And they've built their list, and they have a great following now, and they started when they were small years ago, and now they want to share the wealth and share the readers around, and their readers are always looking for new books to read, right? No author in the world can write books faster than readers can read them. Right. So if you join in that nice little small town romance promo, when the promo goes out, all the authors in the promo have agreed that I'll send it to my newsletter and you send it to your newsletter, whatever size it may be, and she'll send it to hers and he'll send it to hers. And the beauty of that is, if every author in that promo is a small town romance author, guess what? Every single one of their readers is predisposed to like the books that you're writing, right? And they're always looking for new authors to discover, especially romance readers. They tear through books like crazy. So they're always looking for, give me another book to read, give me another book to read. And that's, as a new writer, your goal is to get that book in front of as many people as you can. And in particular, the people that are predisposed to like the kinds of books that you're writing. So you will instantly, I mean, within your first month of finding those new promos, especially if you keep those genres tight, you will find that you start to build a list of readers who are really excited about the books that you're writing, because that's exactly what they read.
You know, we love the promos. We try and enter as many of them as we can. We don't have any going right now, and I was just realizing we need to get in some because our downloads have dropped so significantly. It makes such a big difference. I do like the fact, I don't know if this was a BookFunnel suggestion or if this is what just some of the organizers have done, but I do like that they hold, I mean, obviously you guys put this in so that you can track how many in each author, the clicks from each author, which I think is really good, because then it keeps people from, everybody has to participate.
Right.
Because if you don't participate, then you get removed from promos or you don't get invited back to others. I think that's, people tend to get a little bit too lax sometimes, thinking, oh, there's 50 other authors in here, I don't have to share this. And I love that you guys put it in there so that there's peer pressure to perform.
Yeah, that's the author reputation, and that was really, really important to us, because we, early on, before we had that, we could see that there were some authors who just, they joined a bunch of promos and they obviously were not sharing with their list, and that kind of stuff just doesn't jive with me, right? Indie authors, I feel like BookFunnel has always had this feeling that we're all in this together, we're trying to work together, we're trying to help lift each other up. And group promos just felt natural, like, great, your readers love, epic fantasy, and my readers do too, so let's share, because there's more pie, right? They always used to say there's no limit. Every reader who reads one of my books, it's not like they're like, well, I read that Damon J. Courtney book, I guess I'm done with my fantasy books for the year. Like, they're immediately going to find another book. So if you also write fantasy, well, I'm happy to send them your way. I don't have another book yet to send them, I'm working on the next book, I'm happy to send them your way. And the reputations came about because we started seeing that there were authors who just didn't
Yeah.
share, and that didn't seem fair to us. We
No, I
want
agree.
everybody to participate.
I agree. I love it. We love it. Well, not only from the perspective of that we don't feel that, like, oh, they're not sharing and we're sharing and blah blah blah, but also it holds us accountable, because if we
Mhm.
get busy and we're like, oh snap, we're gonna get kicked out of this promo if we don't start, like we get back on it again. So I
And
love
it
that.
does, and it does feel like, if you're just starting out, you can't imagine how you could be so busy that you forgot to send that out. But I promise, once you start getting in, and especially once you start getting more of your books out there, the life of an indie author is very busy. So
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, and this is a perfect solution for in a lot of the marketing for indie authors, where you hear, especially amongst the fiction genres, you need to be doing newsletter swaps. But it's like, well, how on earth do I find other like authors to do newsletter swaps? Well, you guys have just handed us a community where we don't
right.
even have to create our own newsletter swaps. We're just there. I love it. Okay, so I can't say enough good things about this product, and how it can. We had it one author come in last year and gave a presentation on how she used BookFunnel to grow her list. So that
Yeah,
was pretty awesome. But there are different levels for people out there. So an author can use it, but publishers can use it too if you're
sure.
promoting multiple books. Will you talk about the different levels?
Sure. So generally, you're going to come in as an author, which is we have our author level plans, and those are designed for an individual author with potentially multiple pen names, up to 3 pen names on our
Okay.
bestseller account, or 2 on our lower level accounts, and that is where the vast majority of authors sit. The publisher plans are there for either truly a publisher who has multiple authors, or even a collective of authors that are sort of working together and helping each other, that want to work together on a single account. The publisher plans don't work great for that, because you really, at this time, we only have one, you have one login to the account, and
Right.
so everybody has to share the account. It's a lot easier, and you can manage it a lot better, but if everybody has their own individual account. But it is possible. Most of the publisher plans that we have are for those publishers or collectives of authors that are all putting their books together for some greater purpose, right? There are a couple of author collectives out there that do, a group of science fiction authors got together, and they all pooled their money, and they built a big website, and they said, okay, look, if we're gonna spend marketing dollars, why don't we each spend our, everybody puts marketing dollars into the pool, and we're all sending them to one place, and the purpose of that place is to find great new sci-fi authors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they set all that up, and when you signed up for their account, you basically got, I think there were 10 or 12 authors in the collective, and once you signed up through that list, you got all 10 or 12, each one of the authors, like first book in series. So we would deliver all of those books. Well, they just set up a publisher account so that everybody could put their books in, and boom, away they go.
There you go.
Yeah.
That makes it so much easier.
So when authors are first, joining on to BookFunnel, I would say the biggest thing that you're probably going to end up doing is, we have advanced reader copy delivery, so that as you build that list, the hard part about being a new author is you don't have an advanced reader team. But that's actually the where group promos can really, really be helpful, because that first round of people that come into your newsletter, you can just ask them, hey, would you like to be on my advanced team?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the readers that come through BookFunnel, and I'll say that BookFunnel doesn't have a reader list. Like, we don't send any readers to your promos or to your books.
Mm-hmm.
Every reader that you're going to get is going to come from other authors just like you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but those readers that do join onto your list, you send out, you just ask them, hey, would anybody like to be on my advanced team? When my next book is ready, I would love to get feedback before it gets published and get those early reviews. And a lot of those readers, they already do that. They already advance read for other authors, and they love that. They take their job very seriously. We get emails from them all the time. And they take their job very seriously. It is their job to get that copy and read that advanced copy, and then leave their review on the day that it gets published. So that, as it's not going to happen on your first book, but as your second, your third, and your fourth book get out there, you can start to build that advanced team, so that once you publish those books, you start getting those really early reviews that are so helpful, because they provide social proof to other readers that your books are good and that they're worth reading.
Yeah. Well, honestly, that's what we primarily use it for, is to build advanced reader teams, because it's so easy to just link from anywhere, to post the link on social media, to post it wherever, and just say, hey, do you want to download my book, and hopefully leave a review on Amazon. So we love that. It's been a great tool. um okay, so the author, one of the best parts about this whole thing is the pricing, I think. I was absolutely blown away when I saw that it was only $20 for an author account, for the first author account. There's a second author account, and then the publisher accounts get a little bit more expensive, but such a reasonable price for, I mean, if you consider, if you just look at marketing dollars, and a lot of times people will say a dollar per lead is a good thing. Consider,
Mhm.
a dollar or less per lead is you're doing okay. When you consider that you could add thousands upon thousands of readers if you're using this tool right, and participating in promos, and really connecting with other people for $20 a year, that's pretty darn good return on investment.
Well, and we did that from the very beginning because I'm an indie author, and I know that there are it it feels like there are a lot of expenses out there. And I will say that it's, you want to start slow. You don't need to go and start dropping money all over the place, but it feels
Right.
like you really can if you're not careful. And we always wanted to be affordable. We always wanted for authors, no matter where they were, even if they had their first book published or they're publishing their 100th book,
Right.
we wanted them to be able to use BookFunnel. I felt like from the very beginning that every author should be doing what I was trying to do, which was, even if you're not giving away a free reader magnet or something like that, we have a lot of authors that still use BookFunnel for things like, they'll send out a free short story every couple of months
Yeah.
just to say thanks. Like, hey,
Yeah.
thanks for being on my list. You guys are my super fans. I love you guys. Here's a free short story with this character that everybody loves,
Oh,
right?
what a great
And
idea.
and the beautiful thing about that is that, you know, every time you give to those readers, everybody who joined on your list, a lot of people are going to see that, and a lot of people, they joined up on your list, especially as they come through group promos. So one of the things I try to teach people is when you get readers who come in through a group promo like you've joined on BookFunnel, those readers are really just leads. They're not your readers yet, and there's a good chance that many of them haven't even read your book yet. They picked up a copy and they're like, oh, this book cover looks good. I'll pick up a copy, and then it goes onto their pile, right? So your job is to try and get that book shuffled up to the top of the
Yeah.
pile so that you get read, because you're trying to turn that lead into a super fan. And a super fan is somebody who will buy everything that you write till the end of time. I have authors that I've read for more than 30 years, and I
Mhm.
still buy every single book that they publish. I have
Yep.
an alarm set when they have a new book come out, and go bink, and I just buy them, right? And that's what you want to be, and you can be somebody's automatic buy, right? But you're going to have to get yourself to the top of that to be read pile. So the more that you talk to those readers, once they get onto your list, once they get on your newsletter, the more you talk to them, and if you have it in you, giving them little short stories and things like that are a way to keep sort of at the top of their consciousness. And the great thing I will tell you about that is, giving away short stories is, I meet a lot of writers who, despite the fact that they love writing, they can't stand the thought of writing emails to people. They hate actually having to talk to readers. I myself am one of those. Am one of those people. I don't have a problem talking to other authors, but when it comes to readers, crafting an email that, Damon J. Courtney has a certain personality. You're seeing most of it right here, but you want to be funny but not too funny, and you want to talk about your books, but you don't want to talk too much because you don't want to be salesy. Like, when you add all of that stuff up, it takes me hours to craft an email that's perfect, right? That sounds like me and is going to make readers happy. But and a lot of authors are nervous about that. They don't have they don't feel like they have the time for that, or they feel like it's just a waste of time. So I tell those authors, look, if you don't have anything else to write to them about, go write them a short story. Go take the characters of your world. If you're in fantasy, you're building out this. We love to world build. We just build these giant worlds with dragons and continents and all kinds of stuff. But that's just it. You know your world and your characters so well that if I ask any author about their characters, they can talk about them as though they're real people. So
Right.
take those characters, write a quick 2,000 word short story, and if that's the best that you can do, look, nobody is going to be mad because you sent them a free short story once a month.
Right.
That, hey, I'm working on the next book. I'm still working hard on it. In the meantime, here's a short story with such and such a character from book one. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know if you enjoy it, right? To get some of that feedback back. We have an author who puts out a new short story every other month to their newsletter. And at the end of the year, she takes all 6 of them and she boxes them up. And for Christmas, she sells it as a box set. So
Yeah.
even those free short stories, her super fans got them as they were released, right? So as a super fan, by being on my list, you're getting special stuff that nobody else gets.
Mhm.
And then at the end of the year, it still became a product that she boxed up and she could sell everywhere else. But her super fans, you guys got it for free because you're special, because you're here.
Those are fantastic ideas. I didn't realize I was going to get great ideas for segmentation and extra. I don't know why I had never thought about using that. Speaking of, if you're trying to figure out if you're putting marketing dollars in different places and you're trying to figure out where your money is best spent, I'd never thought about using different landing page links so that we could track specifically where readers were coming from and so that you can see which books are actually getting finished. I mean, just what a great, so many great ideas in there.
Oh, I'll go you one better. We had a fantasy author that he took and wrote a short story between each of his books. So he had a 4-book series. I don't know if he actually went on extended on with it, but at the end of each novel, he would have a call to action to say, if you're not on my list, there's a short story that comes between book 1 and book 2. And he would put those, and then at the end of book 2, there was a short story that came between book 2 and book 3. So they're little bridge stories. They're not required to read the novels, but they're fun little bridge stories that sort
Mhm.
of happen between them. The cool thing about it, and I thought that was so neat, so I emailed him. This was years ago, and I emailed him and said, hey, I thought that was really cool that you were giving people free short stories. And he said, oh yeah, I did that so that I could track how many people were actually reading
The
through the
read through,
series.
yes. What a smart idea.
For the
What
cost
a
of
smart idea.
a few thousand word short story, he
Yeah,
could not only track when somebody got to the end of book 1 and book
right.
2 and book 3, he could actually track how fast somebody was burning through his series, right? And
That's
that's a
cool.
way that you can really start to see that guy's a super fan. He read
Yeah.
all 5 books in my series in like a 2-week period. That's a guy that I definitely want to mark on my list as somebody who wants to hear about the next book when it gets published.
Yeah, and give incentives to those people. I mean, how fun if you even segment it down to like my super fans and they get, even something else special. And readers always like to feel special, I think.
They
It's
do.
yeah. Yeah. Even if we
Look,
don't think we're very special as the author, if they're reading our books, they think it's cool to get special treatment from the author.
and that's the thing is like if you think about growing up as a kid and all the authors that I read, it never ever even occurred to me that and I mean this was before the internet, right?
Right.
I was alive before the internet, so there wasn't even a way that you could just be like, you know what, I'm going to reach out to my favorite author. And I mean, some of them had fan clubs and things like that, and to be fair, some of them were actually really responsive when people would write to them. But now I can actually follow those authors on Twitter. I can say hi. I can join their newsletter. And while I tell people this a lot, if you follow this industry, if you're an indie publisher or you're just getting into it and you seem to be following all these other indie authors, it starts to become sort of blasé that you can talk to all these huge authors, right? But for the rest of the world, the readers of the world, that's still a new thing for them. Being able to actually have, when they send an email saying, I love your book, and the actual author responds and says, I'm so glad you love my book. What was your favorite character? And they go, ee! Like, I
Right.
can't believe that the author actually replied to me, right? We think that that's just sort of like, oh yeah, of course authors do that all the time, but they don't. They
Yeah.
don't know that
Yeah.
that's a thing, right?
Right.
And so while you may think of yourself as a brand new author and you only have a couple of books out and you're just like, oh, nobody wants to hear from me, I promise you, there are readers who read your book and thought it was amazing, and they will squee as soon as you reply to them. And so you want to use that to your advantage. You want to show them that, hey,
Yeah.
you really are a super fan and I love you guys.
And the exciting thing about super fans is that they talk about the books that they love, and word of mouth marketing is still hands down the best tool for authors. But oh, these are such great tips. I am super excited to tell you guys that there is a $50 off your first year for the top for the publisher plans and the second author plan. Is that correct?
Yeah, just not the $20 a year
Not the
plan, because
$20 one,
I
because we
can't
don't.
knock $50 off the $20
Right.
one.
You're not going to get paid back from BookFunnel with this coupon. But still, at $20 a year to be able to use this tool, especially to Damon's point at the beginning about if you don't have the budget or the time to figure out your landing page or your website in the very beginning. I mean, you've just knocked out your website and your and your delivery tool for your book for $20 a year. It's pretty
Yeah.
phenomenal. You can find that at womeninpublishingsummit.com/bookfunnel. It'll take you directly to the page with all the information that you need on it. Was there anything else that you wanted to share? This was really fun. You delivered far more than I anticipated in this interview. So I thought we were just going to talk about how to use BookFunnel, but never imagined all these great marketing tips too.
Well, so I'll give you a few more. And so this is actually when I go to conferences, this is a lot of the sort of content that I talk about. And I will say that very little of this is actually my idea. These are, we have what we call a leaderboard on BookFunnel, which is where we can see like the authors that in any given day that are doing like massive promotions because they're getting a lot of signups and whatever. And so when we see somebody coming through that's doing a lot, we'll kind of poke around like, hey, she's had like 10,000 people join her list today. What is she doing over there?
What is happening?
And so we'd start to look into it. And so all of these ideas and these things that that I talk about are things that I have seen other authors doing. So I will say that as you're just starting out, a couple of the really cool things that you can work on are if you've got that first book ready to go. And this is hard if you're doing something like literary fiction. A lot of the things that I talk about are very much focused on genre fiction because literary fiction is a whole thing on its own. Like how do you take a character from literary fiction and then write a short story about them? It's a lot harder. So I will say, if you write literary fiction, I'm sorry, I don't have a tremendous amount of help for you there. There are lit-fic authors on BookFunnel, and I will say the beauty about literary fiction is that there's no particular genre that is literary fiction, right? Literary fiction can be stories across the world. They can be stories in right here in the States. They can be all over the place, right? And people who read literary fiction are just sort of well-read all around. But when we talk about most of the ideas that I have, they're really from genre fiction authors, as those tend to be most of the authors on BookFunnel. So if you're just starting out and you've got that first book and maybe that second book out, if you're writing in like thrillers and science fiction and fantasy and things like that, you're probably writing in series. Those readers tend to be very series driven, whereas romance authors, a series generally doesn't tend to be a series of the same characters over and over again. They tend to be like a world that you're building. And then each novel in the world focuses on different characters of that world, right? The beauty is that the same techniques work for both of those plans. If you're just starting out, you've got a couple of books out in a romance series that you're working on, the cookies, the reader magnets that you can look at that are going to work the best are things like a prequel. So a prequel book or a novella, because the readers who have gotten to the end of book one, the enticement, the call to action is, hey, find out what happened before they got together. Right. Find out why Rachel was always so broken, right? Whatever that prequel is, they've just gotten to the end of that book. And so they want to go back and read a little bit more about the story and how it got started. But I will say that if you're writing in series, one of the biggest things that you can do is to create what we call an extended epilogue, which is you get to the end of the series or even the end of the book. My friend Lucy Score, she's a big romance author, and she writes, she does a lot of standalones. So she writes in contemporary romance, and most of her novels are standalones. But at the end of the book, she ends the book and it's done in a very satisfying way. You don't leave readers hanging. Don't give them a cliffhanger and say, hey, if you want to finish reading this book, you got to join my list. That sounds more like blackmail. So you give them the end of the story, the true end. But then when they get to the end and they flip the next page and say, hey, if you want to find out what happened 1 year later, read a free short story or read a free novella and by joining my newsletter. And she's built a list of over 100,000 readers
Wow.
doing exactly that, just putting an extended epilogue at the end of each of her books, so that as the readers reach the end, her books are all in Kindle Unlimited, so she's getting a lot of readership from that. But her goal was those Kindle Unlimited readers, she wanted to get them onto her list. She wanted to turn them into Lucy Score readers. And that's what she needed. It was like, okay, you've gotten to the end of the book. How do I get you out of the end of the book and onto my list? Well, an extended epilogue is really easy, because if you love the book that you just finished reading, you're going to want to know what happens a year later. Come on. Who's not going to want to know what happened, right? So they immediately click through, they pick up that extended epilogue, and then they join her list. And once they're on her list, now she has the ability to convince them that I'm not, you didn't just love this book, you love me and my stories and my books. So you want to stay here because this is where all the great stuff happens in the world. And she's built a list of over 100,000 readers. She calls it her own personal book club. When she launches a book, all of her books launch into the top 10 of the entire Amazon store, all built on the fact that she just tells her list that she has a new book. And then tens of thousands of readers run out and pick up a copy.
Wow. That's exciting. That's a really great idea to use. It's funny to me because these are the things that people talk about are so difficult, but these are simple ideas that make it not difficult at all to grow your readership, to grow your email list, all of those things. I had never even thought about extended epilogues, or even a short story, or even for our nonfiction writers, if you're listening in. I mean, you could even, like, let's say you're writing a health book, you could have like an extra chapter that's like, we didn't get to talk about, quads. So I'll give, if you come to my, we'll talk about shaping your quads in my free, whatever. Oh, great ideas.
Or even just a quick, as a nonfiction, even just a quick summary that is like, hey, thanks for reading the book. Keep this little summary with you that just, summarizes some of the major points of the book, so that you can refer back to that quickly without having to go and find all of your places and highlights in the book. I see nonfiction authors doing that, as well as, if, a workbook, BookFunnel, you can actually distribute just plain PDFs too. So we have a lot of authors that will distribute workbooks or pamphlets or quick printouts, like hang this on your wall for motivation, right? That sort of stuff. We have a lot of nonfiction authors on BookFunnel.
Oh my gosh, we've been making it way too complicated. We've been sending them to websites and building fancy landing pages and all kinds of stuff for the downloads, and we're having passwords and all this kind of stuff. We're going to swap. We're going to switch it to using BookFunnel there. That's so much smarter. Oh my gosh. Well, like I said several times throughout this presentation, we really love this tool. We've been using it for a long time. You've given me a lot of ideas on how my team can use it better. So I'm super excited about that. Everybody head on over to womeninpublishingsummit.com/BookFunnel. Make sure you take advantage of that. And even if you're signing up for the $20 a year program, you will get so much value out of it. I appreciate you. We appreciate you so much being our bronze sponsor this year. It's always fun when you get to really, really yammer on about a tool that you truly use and love every day and get paid to do it. So just kidding. No, but we really do appreciate your support. It helps us run this conference and to provide all of these resources and materials to all these authors. So thank you all so much for supporting it. Yes.
I didn't know I'd be the only male presenter.
Our star.
Not that bothers me. I grew up in theater and dance, so I'm quite comfortable being sometimes the only guy in the room.
Well, there you go. Well, we appreciate BookFunnel so much. Hope to send a lot of traffic your way. And thank you again very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And if anybody has any questions at all, like I said, you can email support@bookfunnel.com. You can find that link in the contact form on our webpage. Our people are happy to answer any questions you have about BookFunnel, or even just publishing. We get questions all the time that actually have nothing to do with BookFunnel whatsoever, but just have to do with publishing. Yeah.
I'm sure you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.